What is wrong with Bill C-11? Parliament is currently considering BC-11, the Online Streaming Act, and if you're like a lot of people in Canada, you have questions about what it will mean for both creators and ordinary people if it is passed into law. You will see less of the content you want most. According to the government, BC-11 will increase visibility for some officially recognized Canadian content creators, but their tool for doing this is manipulating our playlist feeds and algorithmic recommendations. This means that the CRTC will be picking winners and losing, forcing some officially recognized content up in feeds and recommendations while downranking or hiding other content we'd otherwise receive. Global content and content that best fits your search criteria as the platform's algorithmic understands that it will become harder to find. The content you want to see that doesn't fit the CRTC's vision of CanCon is pushed down. But wait, doesn't BC-11 ban the CRTC from forcing an algorithm on us? Yes, but it doesn't really matter. That's crazy. So basically, if it's not pre-approved by some sort of subset of the Canadian government, you're not going to see it. That is so wildly scary. That is the opposite of free speech. That's saying you're only going to see what the government wants you to see. This is going down in Canada in real time. And to my understanding, please don't quote me on this, but I believe that the Parliament is actually very close to passing it. There's a better shot of the Parliament passing this than not passing it. And for good reason. There's a lot of Canadian creators who are freaking out. But I think more important than that, for the Canadian people, the Canadian citizens, the people who live in Canada, this is such an egregious overstep and an abuse of power from the Canadian government. I don't know what's going on with the Parliament. I don't know what's going on with Justin Trudeau, but this is insanely bad. Holy shit, this should not be happening in 2022. That's crazy bad. The government should never say, hey, what we want promoted is going to get promoted. That does not make sense. There's no way I will ever be convinced that it's a good concept for the government to say what we can and can't consume. In any circumstance, every person, whether you're left, right, in the middle, don't care about politics at all, it does not matter. The fact, it is so dangerous. You're literally pitching a fascist communist ideology of I will never, ever agree with you if you're of the mindset that the government should have more power. I don't care if that's more conservative power, more liberal power. I do not care. If you're of the mindset that the government should have more power, I will wholeheartedly forever disagree with you. And this is a massive increase in their power of what content gets out there. No way ever. No. I will never, ever agree with you.
It's called the Online Streaming Act, or Bill C-11. Here are the impacts that C-11 could have on creators and users in Canada. It can determine how content appears on YouTube, including the homepage and Watch Next section. Plus, a regulator could force artificial promotion of some creators and content over others, which could impact how content reaches global audiences and could hurt views and revenue. Now, if this bill passes, it could have a huge impact on recommendations on YouTube, which means potentially a big change for Canadian viewers and creators like you and me. Now, to break down what this means, let's bring in Todd Beaupre, a director of product at YouTube, whose team helps manage what videos come your way on your home feed. Todd, let's talk about recommendations as they work now on YouTube. What are the basics we need to know?
Hey Brandon, great to be chatting with you. So our recommendations are a really key part of our YouTube viewer experience, and we've designed them to really help viewers find videos that they would enjoy watching based on what each viewer is interested in. And we want to help them discover creators and channels that are going to be really interesting to them. It's kind of like if you go to the library and you have a librarian there to help you find the next book that you might enjoy reading based on other books that you've read.
So let's talk about how exactly this bill might play out on YouTube. Basically, we know a regulator could make YouTube show a certain amount of Canadian videos to Canadians. So does that mean you'd have to change the recommendation system?
So first, let me tell you a little bit about how the recommendation system works today. So we collect a lot of feedback from viewers in the form of looking at what they watch, what they don't watch, how long they watch it, whether they click like or dislike. Really aim to recommend the best videos to each viewer based on their personal interests. And so as part of that, we aim to recommend Canadian creators to both Canadian viewers as well as viewers around the world who are interested in that sort of content or content similar to it, regardless of whether the video was uploaded in Canada or somewhere around the world. And by doing this, we're able to maximize the audience for Canadian creators.
Okay, so if Canadians get artificially served up Canadian content, what happens to the systems?
So what would happen is we'd end up mismatching viewers to videos that they would be most interested in. In the space of Canadian content creators, we would be showing their videos to people who would be less interested than other videos. And what that ends up meaning is the reaction from those viewers is likely to be that they're less likely to click on those videos. If they do click on the videos, they would be less likely to like them, or maybe they would dislike them or watch them a lot less. And so that negative feedback that we collect can actually have a ripple through the system, because it basically teaches the system that this content from Canadian creators isn't as engaging and satisfying as other content that is not getting kind of like pushed too much in the system. And so that could actually backfire by reducing how much that Canadian content gets recommended to other viewers. In fact, today, over 90% of the views on Canadian creator content come from viewers outside of Canada.
Can you explain a little bit more why that feedback loop is so important? Like, why would these negative signals hurt creators?
We protect this feedback loop very much. As an example, we keep our advertising systems separate from our recommendation systems. So if a creator were to buy advertising for a video, for example, we don't allow that activity to influence a viewer's recommendations, because we don't want that organic feedback loop from the audience to be tampered with, ultimately hurting Canadian creators and reducing their opportunity both in viewership and revenue.
And what about the viewer? Like, is it helpful to get served up Canadian recommendations?
When we would introduce, sort of artificial recommendations, it would hurt the viewers, because then we would be promoting recommendations that they wouldn't be interested in watching. They may end up deciding that they're not as interested in using the platform at all because they're not getting as relevant results. And so we really don't want to be recommending things to viewers that they're not interested in watching, because then they'll potentially leave, and that reduces the opportunity for everyone.
Thanks so much, Todd. So if you're a creator or a YouTube user watching and want to know more or add your voice to the conversation, click below on the description for details on how to get involved. Thanks, and take care.
That's so insanely scary. That's such an egregious overstep of power. And the fact that YouTube, this is officially from YouTube, is kind of staying up, like, it seems like they're kind of going against what's being voted on in Parliament in Canada. The fact that YouTube is doing that, that just shows you how messed up it is. Like, this is wild. It seems from my reading that it is going to pass. I very much hope that it doesn't pass. And obviously, this is bad for Canadian creators, but I think it's horrific for Canadian people. Like, your government shouldn't be treating you like this. Even YouTube is taking a stand against it. Wild. That's wild.